Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Doug Nesbitt, Director of Affinity Partnerships for CMG Financial, and you are tuned in to Friday morning's HomeFundIt webinar, the 9 o'clock version. This is the one where we talk about HomeFundIt being deployed by companies to help their employees go from renting to owning homes faster. Want to thank you for being on the call. Again, I'm Doug Nesbitt, Director of Affinity Partnerships for CMG. You probably see Paul Akamati's name on the GoToWebinar control panel. That's because Paul and I share a login. My contact information is in the lower left corner of the screen that you can hopefully see. And the best way to get a hold of me is either by cell phone or email, dnesbitt@cmgfi.com or 925-719-7076. A little bit of administrative detail while we wait for everybody to get logged in. You are all currently muted so that we don't hear a lot of background noise. It makes for a better presentation experience. On the other hand, it makes it hard to ask questions. So the way to ask questions is through your GoToWebinar control panel. Find the little question panel. You can type in a question at any time. I generally try to keep an eye on that as it goes along. So if I spot a question, I will definitely try to answer it on the fly. If not, and I miss it, or it makes sense to do it at the end, I may pick up your question at the end. Please stick around till the end to see questions. We typically get a few towards the end, so feel free to ask. If there's anything that doesn't make sense or you want me to go into more depth on something, let me know. We got plenty of time. This is a pretty fast presentation. It goes about 20 minutes. I guarantee you'll be back at work by half past. If you were looking for a way to get out of work, this is probably not a good one. But hopefully this will pique your interest in a new way of taking HomeFundIt out to help organizations help their people. And in today's workforce, in today's employment environment, that's a really, really good thing. So without any further ado, let's get up and rolling here. So let me see if I can get my screen to go forward. A little bit for those of you who aren't familiar with CMG, I'll do a little bit here on who we are. CMG's founded in 1993, been around 25 years. Chris George is our CEO. He's also the chairman of the Mortgage Bankers Association now. So I'm going to update this slide. CMG's does about $1 billion a month in mortgages coast to coast through 3 channels: retail, wholesale, and correspondent. On the retail side, we've got about 500 loan officers coast to coast. We lend in all 50 states through 100 retail branches or so. Industry-wide, CMG is recognized as an innovator. We're the company that brought you the all-in-one loan, so only patented loan in the country. And I like to say it's the most powerful loan on the planet. If you're interested more in that, let me know, and I'll connect you with the right folks there. It's the loan I have on my home, and it really is a fantastic program. But what we're here to talk about today, obviously, is HomeFundIt and a new way of getting HomeFundIt in front of large groups of employees and to help them really go from renting to owning a whole lot faster. So let's talk about some of the challenges that those employees have. Today they're dealing with huge front page issues. Sky-high home prices, we all hear about that. In fact, hardly a day goes by without an article in the newspaper about home prices or something on the election ballot about housing or high rents. And this time, in this real estate cycle, for the first time, what we've seen is massive student debt. That's a problem that sort of slows up the process of saving for a down payment. And that is the big issue that we're talking about here today, obviously. So these are issues. And as a company, one of the things you want to think about is your company doing anything to address these front page issues? Because your employees certainly have these issues and they're struggling with them, yet the vast majority, in fact, Society of Human Resources basically says that 97% of companies have no housing related benefits. I mean, RELO doesn't count. No housing related benefits for their employees. So there's a big gap there. And the question is there anything you can do to close that gap to help your employees? without breaking the bank. And that's what we're talking about here today. A lot of employees fall into that group. About half the workforce today is in the 18 to 35 age group. Arguably, most of them, if not all of them, start out as renters, and they're renting for a long time. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 33. It's on their list to buy a house. 80% of them will tell you I definitely want to own a home someday, and they would rather own a home than rent. But when you talk to renters, 70% of them will tell you that the biggest problem to getting into a home is today the down payment, not the mortgage payment, not making the payment, but getting the down payment together to get started. And it's a problem for companies because the longer they stay as renters, the more likely they are to be lured away by another company. I talk to companies all week long, and they'll tell you people will move across the street to another job for 50 cents an hour. And it really is getting to be a problem now that employment is becoming very, very tight. So that's an issue that we can hopefully solve by helping people settle down, put down roots, get more stable, and turning them from renters into owners is a good deal for a company from a retention standpoint. The problem with the down payment today is that it really is a solo effort for people. People are able to get gifts from immediate family, and by immediate family, typically what we see is mom and dad. Technically church and technically employer, but it's rarely done. And in all cases, it's done with extensive paperwork and financial statements. So there's a lot of friction in the process because you have to go and ask for a gift letter, and in many cases, financial statements to back up the fact that this is a gift. So people typically don't ask a wider circle. They typically only ask their parents for help and only in some cases, right? And we said, hey, what if we could fix this? What if we could make it so that more people could help? And what we did was we went and talked to Fannie Mae and got an exemption from the normal rules around bringing funds in towards that down payment. And through HomeFundIt, CMG is allowed to, and only CMG, is allowed to allow people to effectively crowdfund their down payment from a wider circle of people. And that money is approved by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. There's no cost to use this platform, and there's no cost to the company to offer it to their people. So before HomeFundIt, you had this very limited group. With HomeFundIt, people are able to widen the circle of people very easily. We do this online on the HomeFundIt platform with just a few clicks. None of the paperwork that you normally need. That's all done online just by acknowledging a few things. It can be done as a pure gift. And it can also, because we do it with a credit card, it can also be done contingent, which means that if you cancel your campaign, don't buy the house, all those folks who gave to you on a contingent basis automatically get their money back via their credit card. So it just reverses the process. Obviously, anybody who gave as a pure gift, mom and dad, would allow that money to stay with you as a pure gift. So what it does is it takes the friction out of asking people who would love to help, right? People who you would love to ask or let know that you're trying to raise money for a house and who would happily step up and say, hey, here's a little money to get started. Or maybe wedding guests who would love to give you money for a roof over your head instead of another toaster, right? Close friends, teammates, co-workers. Your employer can continue to give through the platform, and the church also. But really, it's making it easier to ask those people who already believe in you, love you, want to help you, to take the friction out of that process. And it's amazing how opening that door brings families together, a wider circle of people within a family to kind of help each other get where they're going. You have a lot of people who are, multiple families living in the same house even today. And it helps that wider circle of people legally help you raise a larger down payment. So this tool is really a friction remover to grease the skids of getting a down payment together a whole lot faster. And what we see is some amazing results when even a few people know about your campaign. Second column here, what we do to kind of add a little bit of fuel to the fire is we match. CMG matches any contributions onto the platform 1-to-1 up to $1,500 or 1% of the purchase price of the home. And those funds, because we're an interested party, are applied to the down payment or to the non-recurring closing costs. And the realtor can also match in as an interested party. Their contribution goes to the non-recurring closing costs too. Less costly on the loan side means more money that the buyer has for down payment. To get that match, you do need to do required home buyer education, which is fun and easy and educational, and you have to do that before signing the purchase contract. And we pay for that course. There's no taxes, fees, or fundraising commissions. If you try to do this on Kickstarter, you'd have all those problems. And at the end of the day, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac wouldn't approve those funds. Because most people haven't done a crowdfunding campaign before, we have a support team. Obviously, the beginning step of that is getting pre-qualified and figuring out what your goals are, how much you want to raise on your campaign. The realtor gets involved very early because most of these campaigns are very fast, 12 to 15 weeks on average, instead of the usual 2-year process of saving for a down payment. Fundraising coaching, we have a fundraising coaching team that connects with every single campaign and helps them craft their story, share it all out onto social media, answers questions, takes advantage of opportunities like weddings and birthdays and holidays and things like that, and really helps you get on track to have a campaign that raises money. Reminds you to ask certain people, teaches you how to communicate the fact that you're raising funds for a down payment without really asking even. What we find is a lot of people just knowing that you're trying to get into a home will jump in and help. So the fundraising coaches have closed hundreds of campaigns. We've seen over $100 million in real estate purchased using HomeFundIt. So they're very experienced at helping people put together a tactful way of letting people know, people who are close to them, know that they're trying to get into a home. And again, as I said, we pay for a home buyer education course. It can be done online or in person, and that's required to get the lender match of up to $1,500 or 1%. We make you do that before signing purchase contract. And that makes people smarter borrower, better buyer all around. Funds are all held in escrow and until closing, and they proceed automatically to the closing table. And those funds are approved by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they'll back the loans. The loans that we do on this program are Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac programs, underwritten programs. And that includes Home Possible and Home Ready, which means you can do programs as low as 3% down payment. And we'll even do high balance loans where the conforming loan limits are higher than the standard national conforming loan limit. So if you're in California, this can be done with a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac program as well. So the only loans that aren't available under this program are FHA, VA, and jumbo. Bottom line is you can go from renting to owning in a matter of weeks, not years. We see campaigns, as I said, 12 to 15 weeks, very typically. Some campaigns are days. They move very, very quickly. Just depends on the person and what occasions they're leveraging, how far out that wedding is, things like that. This is a pretty typical national level scenario, people coming in with a little savings, not enough to get into a home. Crowdfunding takes them the rest of the way there in a few weeks, and they're ready to buy a home in a few weeks. And what it does is it straightens out that very twisty process of gathering funds for a down payment. A lot of times life gets in the way, but when you have a team around you and you've got a mission and you've got dates that you're hitting, it happens to get done pretty quick. Our average down payment is around 8%, believe it or not. So we see people coming in with very strong campaigns a lot of times. And as long as you're out there communicating it, we typically see campaigns in the 5,000 to 10,000 range. We've seen campaigns in the 20,000 range, so it works really, really well. The organization can also match directly into that down payment. That's optional, but we highly encourage organizations to do that because as they offer this to their people, it allows them to say, hey, we have a housing benefit. And on top of that, you have CMG's match and the realtor contribution towards non-recurring closing costs. For a company, offering this to their people allows them to say, hey, we have a housing benefit. And on the retention side, turning renters into homeowners is a great thing because you're helping people put down roots, get stable, build community, and it makes them harder to move away from your company and hang on to top talent as you go. This is a quick case study. We've seen some fantastic stories here. This is one of our favorites, the Smith family. This is one where unfortunately the spouse had passed away kind of as they were kind of making one last try to own a home. They had pretty much given up after that on ever owning a home. They heard about HomeFundIt. People jumped in, and literally in 3 days, they had raised over $10,000 towards a down payment. This is a California home too. They closed on it in just a few days. So an amazing campaign where, you know, it was a tough situation, and they managed to be in a home. And we've seen hundreds of these types of campaigns now. The way we go out to a company and deploy through a company to individual employees at the company is through what we call the Affinity portal. This is a company customized portal that has the company logo on it, and a place where employees can start a HomeFundIt campaign. And it's, as I said, it's customized. The company uploads a logo and a picture. This is actually Graceland University out in Iowa, small liberal arts college. It's actually where Caitlyn Jenner went to school for college, and really ended up being a great partner of ours. They offer this to all their employees, and they can start a campaign there. You can this is kind of an old screenshot. You can see one starting in the lower left here. And it gives them admin control and reporting over who is campaigning. Sets up very quickly and just in minutes. And it's got communication materials built right into it, so they can communicate flyers out to their people, let them know the program exists. And they link to this page from their HR pages and from all of their various materials. So as they hire somebody, they say, oh, and we have this housing benefit, and this will help you buy a house a little bit faster and bring money in from your family and friends a little more easily. So use this when it's time to buy a house. It's very simple. There's no cost to the company to get it going. It doesn't cost the employees of Graceland anything to use it. It's theirs. It's not a big ad or promotion for any realtor or loan officer, although when you start your campaign, you are connected with the CMG loan officer who has connections in at Graceland University, and you talk to him, and his name's Kirk, and he connects with every single employee who's thinking about buying a house there. So they have somebody who kind of takes care of their folks. So if you're a company thinking about offering this to your people, you've got a CMG loan officer who you can always ask questions of, who essentially is your account manager for the program, and they've got a realtor who they work with, who's usually has committed to helping on the commission side as well, by contributing a little bit towards those closing costs associated with buying the house. So it's a great deal where you've got a committed team behind this very non-promotional platform that you can offer to your employees, and gives them a place to get started, ask questions, connect with the people who can help them buy a house a lot faster. And for that reason, it doesn't use up a lot of administrative time for the company. It's very easy to deploy. You've got a team that maintains it, answers questions, and basically from an administrative standpoint, it's just making sure people know it's there. That's what it is. It's a place for them to get started. And it's a separate place where you can have some branding, and you can keep track of how many of your employees that you're helping. So it's a great way for a company to kind of have their own thing. And this photo here that you're looking at is really, it's a picture from their campus. It's right in front of one of their buildings. And yeah, just it's a good way to kind of deploy it to any kind of company. And it doesn't have to be a for-profit company. Obviously, this is a university. It can be a union. It could be an association. Any group of people who are offered a benefit would be a perfect candidate for the Affinity platform here. So that's pretty much how that works. Where we go in with the program, sometimes we bump into people who don't fit. As I said, the program doesn't include FHA, VA, or jumbo loans, and sometimes people are better off in those programs for whatever reason. If you're a veteran, you don't generally need a down payment, so you oftentimes belong in a VA loan. We give extensive discounts on closing costs on those programs. Or let's say you don't want to crowdfund, you don't want to use the platform, you just want to go with a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conforming loan conventional loan, but you don't want to use the platform. Well, that's okay too. You don't have to. We'll offer discount on closing costs on non-HomeFundIt programs. And if it's FHA, VA, and jumbo, it's 1,000 off. So people don't hit the platform and then decide, this is not for me, or for whatever reason, go away empty-handed. We make sure that where we support an organization like Graceland University, we support them across the board and help them with those discounts where HomeFundIt's in place. And then also where we go in, we also support with PR. So if the organization would like to do some public relations to promote this within their organization or outside their organization, they can use that. And we actually have a number of organizations that have done that. Salons by JC is one of them. They're one of our great partners. They're a nationwide salon suite owner franchise organization, one of the largest in the country. There's probably a Salons by JC salon in your town for hair and nails and all other types of things. They employ a lot of folks who essentially run their own business within Salons by JC as a franchisor. And a lot of them would love to own homes too. A lot of them are just starting out as business owners, and one of the things that they do is help their people on the personal side of their life, and one of those things is buying a home. So it's an important part of their HR program. It's integrated into their program in an area called Empowering You. In fact, one of my next calls today is with their COO, and they're really using it as a strategic tool to help their people know that they're trying to help them in that area of their life. So that fills that big gap for them on the HR side, where they didn't have a housing benefit, and now they do. So that's HomeFundIt for benefits plans for organizations. If you have any questions, feel free to type those into the question panel. I'm happy to hang around and answer any questions that you might have. And again, as you're thinking about organizations in your area, I'm there to help you pitch those organizations if you're interested in communicating to them. If you're one of those organizations, I'm here to answer any questions. If you're interested in rolling this out to your people, again, it's very easy. One of my previous calls is with a large organization that's trying to attract engineers to their organization in an area where sometimes engineers don't want to live. So this is a way for them to say, hey, but we can help you buy a house there. And it's changing the game for them. And so this is an important program strategically for a lot of companies. And we're excited to be able to offer it. It really, again, it's a win for everybody all the way around. It's a win for the organization because they can develop and hang on to great talent, attract them. It's a win for the employee because we're taking the cost out of the closing costs and taking the friction out of them being able to ask people who are already likely to give to them if they only knew, right? It's a win for the lender and the realtor, a win all around. So who loses? Well, the friction in the process is gone, right? We've eliminated that, and it allows people to move those purchases ahead, which is a win for everybody associated with the program. So there really aren't any losers in the program here. We've just cut the red tape out of the program for people, and we'd love to extend that offer to any organization that wants to help their people go from renting to owning a little faster. So that's it. If there's any questions, feel free to give me, I'll give you a few minutes here to drop those in. Again, my contact information is in the lower left. And if you're interested in talking further or talking to companies about this, or if you're a company wanting to roll it out, let me know and be happy to work with you further. All right, I don't see any questions. So again, thanks for being on the call this morning, and go out and make it a great and safe weekend. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.